if you're lactose intolerant, you can't watch this movie because it's got so much cheese.
Sorry, yeah, I gotta go. You guys can do this on your own now.
Nope, end it there. You agree 100%. I'm right. Okay, today's episode we are reviewing The Midnight Sky, which is a Netflix original film that was released in 2020, directed by George Clooney, starring young Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and Coach Taylor. Oh, and of course, George Clooney.
I was like, I don't know if this is a joke that I like. It's like a meta joke you're making about the movie that I just don't get.
No. This was just a movie filled with an all-star cast, including Felicity Jones, David Oyelowo, Kyle Chandler, and George Clooney, amongst many others. But The Midnight Sky is a post-apocalyptic tale that follows Augustine, a lonely scientist in the Arctic, as he races to stop Sully and her fellow astronauts from returning home to a mysterious global catastrophe. Exciting. So, this movie is all about space exploration, which is one of my favorite topics ever, so I'm excited to talk about this one. But let's get everyone's first reactions. First, James, why don't you start us off on this one?
This movie, I wouldn't call it a fun movie. I would say it's more like a thought-provoking movie. It's almost like this movie reminds me of like when you're like, you have a couple beers, you're sitting around with your friends, and you're not really doing anything, but you're having a conversation that just kind of evolves into like ridiculous scenarios. You're like, what if like people went off and like they came back and like only the people in the ship survived or something like that. You know what I mean? Like I feel like it's like,
No spoilers.
and then they get into like what?
No spoilers.
No spoilers. Right. Yeah. Trust me, there's like plenty of other stuff that happens that's all what I just said was like explained in the first 5 minutes of the movie. But I will stop talking from now on. It's definitely much more about the relationships, right? And the emotional journey of true isolation. It was definitely an isolation movie, but it was cool because it definitely had it had like a bit of a tinge of a sci-fi. You know what I mean? It was like sci-fi-y, but wasn't like even less so than Outside the Wire. Like this Outside the Wire was like 10, 20 years in the future. This is more like, maybe we can do this now. Like what's going on? So,
this was 14 years in the future, just for your reference, James.
Boom. Yes.
18 years, 2049.
Boom. Math.
I thought it was 2034.
No, now
well,
you got me questioning.
That seems
I'm
like
gonna double check this while...
yeah, that means somebody's definitely right.
I'm probably lying. I probably make that up.
I wrote in my notes. Thank you
right.
for having notes. 2049, but
nice.
I will double check while Kev gives us his first
overall
reactions.
Liked it. Kev, your turn.
I liked it. It was good. Interstellar 2, Electric Boogaloo. Maybe a little the costume design there looked like a video game that I played recently, but it was good. Easy watch. It's not too long. Doesn't feel like it's dragging on. I like George Clooney. He was pretty good, and I think it's just overall a good movie. Nothing crazy. I don't think it was very thought provoking, like James did. But I would watch it again with the right audience. I would show this to someone else at this point. So it was all right.
Okay. So I think I'm going to be a little bit different than you guys. Like I said, I love space exploration movies. I thought this was visually very appealing. Great acting, great writing. Had a lot of high hopes and expectations for this movie, and they set you up for a lot of like cool stuff. And I'm not going to say I didn't like it because I did like it, but I had a lot of issues and faults with it that we will talk more. It's very plot issues that I have, so I don't want to spoil anything just yet. But yeah, I think we're going to have a little conversation on this one.
Agreed. I don't think this is a movie you can take too seriously, if I'm being completely honest. You kind of have to
But I think from the
suspend
beginning,
logic.
because of the high quality cast and production value of it, you expect like high expectations.
It's true. You're right.
Yeah, I agree
don't
with
think-
Joe. I think you can expect more out of a movie like this. I don't think it's one of those like an Outside the Wire where you go in expecting just like a dog shit movie for 2 hours. It's more something that like, okay, Netflix is pumping out a space movie
With George Clooney.
post-apocalyptic movie with George Clooney.
I was expecting an
he's going to
Oscar-worthy
be
movie
isolated. Yes, you have a great actor who's like isolated in the Arctic. So we're about to see George Clooney like use his acting chops for 2 hours, but to Joe's point, like it might have fallen flat a little bit.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
can confirm that it does take place in 2049. So
Ooh,
18
suck it,
years from today, 19 years from when it was released. But let's
All
take
right,
a quick
whatever.
word from our sponsor before we get back to the show. Okay, and we're back. So let's dive into this. Let's talk pros, cons, strengths, and weaknesses. Who wants to take us
Who
off
wants to
first?
kick it off?
I was
No, you
just
got
gonna
it.
say, we're chatting about these notebooks that we bought that James didn't buy with like our little notes about the movies, and all my criticisms I really had, or like a lot of the early criticisms I had, were solved at the end of the movie because of the big twist. So I was like, I can just throw all my fucking notes out and just waste my whole fucking time.
That's amazing.
So I know what twist you're talking about, and I do want to get to that, but we're not going to spoil it just yet.
No. I just
That's
want
in the
people to know
spoiler. Part.
there is
Yes.
a twist at the end, and it will remedy some of the issues you might see if you're thinking about the movie. But you don't need to think about it too much. You just take it at
George
face
Clooney
value.
is actually a frog. It's actually.
Oh no, I did have a note in there that will.
George
What did
Clooney's
that
a
remind you of?
I said George Clooney should play Santa.
Yes, that is
Oh,
true.
I would like
is
that.
true.
Yeah.
In
Bro.
the
Kinda looks
Santa
like
Claus
Santa.
17.
Yes,
So this
the
probably
reverse clause.
the reverse clause. The I loved, right? So I love this part about the movie. Or I love this like aspect of the movie, even though it's probably not like there's a ton to talk about this movie. George Clooney's snow beard.
Amazing. It was
Amazing.
Oh.
Incredible.
Yes, there is a point
Yes.
where he's pretty cold in that snow. Yeah, that is.
Iris.
It's like Batman.
He is.
Rachel.
Yeah.
Rachel.
Rachel.
Yeah, so I mean, George Clooney's beard seems to be the favorite in this movie right now.
It
That was
is,
a big
yeah,
one, that was a
honestly.
big one.
That's gonna be best supporting actor, I think.
Yeah, George
Well,
Clooney's beard.
Before
Yeah,
we
imagine
veer
like
off too
the
much.
the. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No,
Go.
you finish your thought and then I'll.
I was just gonna say, imagine the award ceremonies when they're like going through all the nominees and they're like, best supporting actor. George Clooney's beard in Midnight Sky, and it's like all just zoom ins on his beard, like
His face,
Yeah.
it's not.
Yeah. It's just his beard. It's just from
Yeah.
like here down.
That's so funny.
Don't give George Clooney credit. No, I was going to say, before we go veer off too much off topic, but how you said that they answered all your questions at the end, I disagree strongly with that. Is that I think they set up so much in the beginning, so many questions. It was a very slow burn because they were just building this whole big universe of what we can expect and what kind of world it is. And then very little of it was explained or paid off to me.
I think my point was more like there were some like weird things in it that didn't make sense timing wise to me, or like just like overall that got like resolved. Not so much the story questions, but more like little
Like why
things
Iris
that have to
didn't
do
have a
with that
snow beard?
plot. No, yeah. The Irish didn't have a snow
Sexism
beard.
is why she didn't have a
But I agree, like Joe, to an extent that like there were a lot of questions. But like then again, like I don't think the story was like about like the apocalypse. It was more a story about a dude. You know what I'm saying? Like it does make you interested in like what the hell happened to the world and what's going on in the world, but also I think it's more just a story about a man.
It's an island story. Like it really is. It's like, you know what I mean? Like the world, like I like that they didn't get into how the world like collapsed. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
I feel like the story almost wasn't about that. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't an apocalypse story.
There's
It
not
was
enough time. To
Well, yeah,
do
well,
it.
it's also it's not about that.
because if you look at like Interstellar, they do that. It's about how the world is deteriorating, that they need to go find other stuff, and they execute it perfectly in Interstellar.
Yeah, but
This-
at the cost of being like 5 hours long.
It's true.
nobody
I mean,
complained about that
Interstellar
though,
is a-
because it's amazing.
It's an amazing movie.
Interstellar is a better movie than this, and it is
1000%.
just a weird knockoff. But it's
They've
more
got
story
square
about the dude.
robots. They've got square robots in Interstellar. Lack of square robots in this movie.
Dude, yeah, that's so
No,
true.
but I think
Tars?
just
Tars.
I didn't know who this movie was about. I would, like, obviously you feel like it's George Clooney because they do the flashbacks of him and he is the lead scientist, but most of the movie's not on him. It's about the spaceship on the ether. I feel
I
like
mean,
they
but
get a
that's
good
part of his
40%. It is. It does end up being part of the story, which I liked that connection, and I did take a note of that. But his portions I thought were very slow burn, drawn out, not much going on. Like, and then I was just more excited to always get back to the Ether crew. And then when it's not really about them, that's where my struggle was with.
I like
I
his
see.
journey though. Like his
Yeah.
journey, like when he was out. Like I think the beginning. So I feel like the first 30 minutes are just George Clooney, and then it's like they introduce the Ether crew, and then it's like more like you do see more. I don't think you see more of the Ether crew. I think more just happens with the Ether crew because a lot of George Clooney's like George Clooney doesn't have a lot of lines in this movie. You know,
No.
like
I feel like
he
they
doesn't-
started this movie with George Clooney, and then they're like, oh, wait, we've got no story to go with this. Quick, let's bring in a giant spaceship of people who are obviously going to go through the stereotypical, like, conflicts of space. I think they did it really well. I'm not trying to shit on this movie because I did actually really enjoy it, but I had such really high expectations, and it did fall flat at a
I
lot of
agree.
points.
I agree. Like, I disagree that they just were kind of like, oh, it's about George Clooney, and then it's like, oh, we need something else. So I think that, like, to me, it felt like that was always the plan, right? Like, it's about him and his daughter and how he was selfish and he isolated himself and then ultimately was left isolated at no fault. Like, he's stuck now isolated like he's done to himself his entire life. Except now he's trying to, save his daughter essentially and tell her to go home or go to the new home. But so I don't feel it was like scrapped together. I do feel like it did fall a little flat though. Like there was like I didn't see much of George Clooney that was really showcased his acting where it really could have with really good writing. Maybe it was the writing. There wasn't enough. Like, I don't know where the issue was.
I struggled with also the fact that they were saying that he was the last man on Earth, right? And then the two people from the Ether decide to leave the ship to go to Earth to find their family. So I'm like, okay, there's still people on Earth, but also in the beginning they're saying that they need to evacuate Earth. So I'm like, where are these people going? Why did not everybody go? How? Like,
Well,
there was
they're
just a lot of
underground.
rules that just
Yeah.
didn't make sense to me. I know that they said
They're
they're underground, but like,
So essentially, George Clooney explains, right? Like because the Ether's whole thing is like they're coming back closer to Earth, and they're basically just like pinging any satellite they can hit,
Yeah.
because they're not hearing anything, right?
Wait, pause, James. Pause for
Yes.
1 second. Let's just explain to people who haven't watched the movie and are deciding, or we're not in the spoiler section yet, right?
We are in the
No,
spoiler
we are.
section.
Okay, so yeah, let's just explain to everybody who's decided not to watch the movie but still wants to hear us talk about it. The Ether crew is a crew of people who went to survey a new planet, and they're on their way back to Earth. Yeah, K-23.
K-23. I said.
And now they're on their way back, and George Clooney is trying to tell them, like, Earth is fucked. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, it's
Get
essentially
the fuck out of here.
Yeah, he's at like the comms tower trying to basically shoot a signal into space because they were like on this like super long journey, and while they were gone, Earth basically like the apocalypse happened. They
Right.
don't really explain what happened, and essentially a lot of the movie is them trying to get close enough or them trying to like do whatever they can to like actually connect the signals. You know what I mean? So it's
Right.
like.
Meanwhile, George Clooney has a stowaway little girl
Yeah.
that he's got to take
yeah.
care of.
And he's trying to survive. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's like, you know.
So anyway,
Well-
back to your point.
Yeah, so essentially, like Joey, at least my understanding of what happened with the people, right, is they said George Clooney basically explained because one of the first questions is like, hey, like that Ether, the ship, like pings to George Clooney and says, hey, we tried to reach all these other things and like other space crews and nobody answered, and they're like, yeah, there's nobody left, and he's like, there's no one left, and then George Clooney's like, well. They're like, what about Antarctica? And he's like, the only thing I know of are underground facilities, and those are temporary. You know what I mean? So it's like, basically, it's like, if people are there, they're not going to be there for long. You know what I mean? And I don't think
Yeah.
the two. So like at the end of the movie, two of the men on the crew basically are like they have the option of like, okay, do we slingshot around and leave Earth because it's like fucked, or
Classic
like
space movie.
exactly, or every space movie wants to slingshot around Earth. They love slingshotting with gravity.
Or the moon, or the moon.
Or the moon.
Or the moon.
Yeah.
Or they can like jettison off on the landing pods and like re-enter the atmosphere and try to find life, you know. And essentially, what we were talking about is two of them decide they're like, hey, we have families down on the ground, we're gonna go. Whereas like two of the other astronauts are like
We're
together
staying behind.
and are pregnant. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So let me ask you guys this: do you think this was a movie about hope or hope
No.
bliss?
No,
Bliss.
no, I think it was a movie about. I think I stick to that. It was a movie about this man who devoted his life to this work, right? To finding a new planet for life, because Earth is not going to be forever, and how he like isolated himself into that work, and pushed away his loved ones or this girl who he loved and who eventually has their daughter, and pushes them away and spends his life working on this to ultimately find himself in a forced isolation, and his last purpose is to really save his daughter, and like that's all that's left. There's nothing left but for him to go and try and save his daughter. I think
So-
it was a story about that man and his journey. Now, it didn't go into his past life as much, maybe, as it should have, but I think that's generally what the movie is about. I don't think it's about hope or hope for humanity or anything like that.
Okay, so that was going to be my next question. Was that in the beginning, it felt like this was going to be a movie that takes place on 3 different timelines. The George Clooney timeline, the Ether timeline, and then the flashback timeline.
Stud George Clooney timeline. Stud
Yes.
George Clooney timeline.
Which
yes.
I will give this movie credit. That guy sounded just like him. It was
Yeah, he
amazing.
did.
I
He
was
did.
like,
Just
this
like
is
him.
incredible.
I
But
don't know if they were going for like a twist that it's like, because I know they showed this dude in flashbacks before, but I think it was generally like, at least I caught it after the second flashback, like, oh, this is George Clooney's character.
oh yeah,
With aging tech being the way it is now, do you think that, I thought, as I was watching the flashbacks, do you think it would have been cooler if they did, like, they just de-aged George Clooney?
like
Because-
actual George Clooney, because we know what he looks like at that age.
Yeah, and
He's been around
exactly.
for so
We know
long.
what he looks like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
We know.
I honestly kind of like that they use another actor because I feel like I have such a bad taste in my mouth for that kind of stuff. I don't know. Like, it's like...
Why?
Marvel does it really well, I agree. But it's like, I just feel like you can definitely over CGI a movie. And like, you know what I mean? If you get an actor that looks like George Clooney, you look at it and you're like, oh, okay, that's probably a younger him. You know what I mean? Especially when he
Yeah.
has like a beard and stuff, because like you can't see as much of his face structure. And like, the young George Clooney like was completely shaven, and then there was the one that was like all different hairstyles. But like,
Yeah,
it's much more natural looking, I think. You know what
I
I
was
mean?
gonna say it didn't bother me because he sounded like him, so that was realistic enough. And the fact that like I don't like watching movies typically with these massive conglomerate actors who, like, we're not even referring to him by his name. We're referring to him as George Clooney because he's just so
Right,
big.
right,
Like, it doesn't,
'cause
you're not
he's
going to call
George,
him
yeah.
Augustine, 'cause that's
Augustine,
weird. He's
yeah.
George Clooney. So like that's why I'm happy that there was a different actor doing, because it did give this this feel that it was like a different timeline of a different person at first. Obviously, you quickly realize that it is just his flashback.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Do you
I
think going forward, like just not with this movie, but movies in general, does it even make sense as this de-aging tech gets so good? Because if you watch WandaVision, that scene is like the de-aging is so good, and like in Ant-Man, they do it like the most recent ones
Yeah.
are really good. Do you think there's even a reason for movies to like cast a younger actor if they can just de-age the actor they have and it's them? Like, doesn't
Yeah.
it make more sense to just have them play their younger selves?
No, I definitely think that there's an element of like, you know what I mean? Like having the younger actor, I don't know. I feel so obviously like me being in the world, like I like giving younger actors like a platform, especially in like big budget movies like Marvel or like, you know what I mean? Whatever, like this movie, or I don't know why I'm thinking of Pirates of the Caribbean, like some like basically a big brand name where you see this actor and you're like, oh, that's cool, and then like they can like jump off and go into something else. But I agree. I don't know. This also made me think of like, have you heard about like they're CGIing people's faces that are like deceased in movies?
Yeah, the
Yeah, Star Wars
CGI
did
him
that.
onto a body double. Yeah.
Yeah.
Spoilers for The Mandalorian ahead. They did that for Luke at the end
yeah.
of.
Didn't they do that also in the Social Network with the Winklevoss twins? It was actually just one
Did
guy.
they?
Yeah, they're not actually
I don't
twins,
know.
I don't think, in the movie, or the actors who play them. I think it's just the same guy that just CGI'd his face onto the other actor.
That's like
And-
the most complicated. Like that
It's
is
also
the most.
very insulting to the other person. Like, we're going to choose this guy because
That's so funny. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
ridiculous. I don't understand. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, I love CGI movies like Pacific Rim, Endgame, all those movies with the super cool CGI stuff. I'm in there. I'm all about the hype fights. Like, that's why we're here. Sometimes I just want to see a movie where I'll see shit that I'm never going to see in real life, you know?
Yeah, but every movie uses CGI. Like, it's just like depends on how they use it and what they use it on, and
yeah, I mean, I'm not against de aging. I'm not against it. I think it's okay if it's done well. You know what I mean? But if like I would prefer get another actor if you can. I think I'd prefer the other actor just because I also like seeing younger actors get an opportunity. But that's just IMO.
I disagree. You're too
I
nice.
no, I get with your interest, James, and like obviously giving people opportunities. I think there's just going to be so much talent out there that it's not worth spending the money or extra money on that technology and that time it takes to de-age people versus just shooting it realistically. Like ideally, when you're making a movie, like you want to do the least amount of post-production work as possible because it just takes more time.
Me thinking about this, if they shot George Clooney, right? If they're like using the de-aging software and then they shoot a shot of like George Clooney in high school, is it like a bunch of high schoolers and then George Clooney in like a green like a get up
no,
and they're just like, see you at the sock hop, George. Like,
Well, it depends. Like,
and he's like, okay.
yeah. It's like in The
He's not that
Irishman.
old.
Did you guys watch The Irishman?
Yes.
And
No, I haven't seen it yet.
obviously the de-aging is fantastic in that movie because they do, Joey, go through different times of these people's lives. But then there's one point where
No spoilers. I
gonna
need to watch
escape me.
this.
who's in that movie? What's his freaking name?
Not DeFranco.
De Niro. De Niro is de-aged, like he's supposed to be pretty young, and he's in the mob or whatever, and he's beating the shit out of someone. But like, it's like young De Niro but he's still like an old man, so he moves like an old man. So you're like, wait.
He's just like hobbling around.
Yeah, he's like got a walker, and he's like trying to beat the shit out of someone. And you're like, oh, you're still an old man, De Niro. Like, you ain't
It's
shit,
so
bro.
funny.
Old man De Niro.
Old man, young man, De Niro.
Well, okay, I feel like we talked about that a lot. Let's continue with the CGI talk. How'd you guys feel about Planet K-23?
Oh, I hated the CGI.
So bad. It was so bad.
I
hated
fucking hated the CGI on Kate. Luckily, they were not there for too long.
Yeah.
And there was one part where she's walking out of the cave and it looked okay, but it was so fluorescent and like
So fluorescent, so saturated.
It
nothing
looked like they were
my
living
God.
in like it looked like they were living in a screensaver.
literally like
Yeah.
a 90s screensaver that was just
Yes.
created by some special effects artist who was just like, cool, let's see what we can do. Oh my, it was so bad.
I
like, honest-
hated it.
I think I've
I'm
seen
sorry,
a pinball
go
machine
ahead.
with that art on it. I'm not gonna lie. I feel like I've seen a pinball machine with
Probably.
like that
Yes.
a literal background.
It was like, did you guys see? We always go to Marvel. If you're a listener and you don't know who we are as people, we're fucking losers anyway. And I always go back to Marvel, so whatever. But you saw Guardians 2, right?
Yes.
It's like Ego's
It's
planet.
Ego's
It's
planet.
like
Yeah, it is like
like
Ego's planet.
fucking shooting colors at your face. I don't know. It annoyed the piss out of me. That's one of the notes I made. One of my non-throw out notes.
I
But
feel like
They
I
should
love
just gone on location to like Colorado because she talks about Colorado at the end. So go
Yeah.
somewhere in Colorado.
Go to Colorado.
Use that location. Use a little CGI to make it look a little different, and then like it looks good, but not a fucking. We know you're in space. You don't need to remind me you're in space.
Yeah.
Was this one of those movies
Wait.
that was shot during quarantine?
No.
That's a great question. No,
I'm pretty sure because it came out in like December, so it would have had to been shot probably at least a year before.
Okay, never mind then. Yeah.
So it could have been tight, but it could have been like that's what they were planning to shoot last, and then they couldn't, so they had to do some weird special effects. I don't know.
Because I feel like thinking about it now, I feel like the movie, like all of the real major shots, other than like the snow sequences, it was all indoors. You know what I mean? It was either in the spaceship, it was in like a drop pod, it was outside of the spaceship, or it was in one of the two like radio communication places. You know?
Yeah.
So it's like this would actually be a super COVID friendly movie to record.
Well,
you
and
know?
that's the other thing though, is that like they did have good CGI elsewhere throughout the movie. Like I thought
Yeah.
they had great
Like-
visual
like
effects. The
even in
cinematography was
the
great.
snow, yeah.
It was just
Yeah.
straight up on this planet. It looked so bad.
yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. It stood out, Joe, and I thought
Yeah.
the same thing right when I saw it. I was like, ah.
Yeah, it
Would
just
you guys-
turned me off
Maybe-
right away.
Here's some headcanon for you to make it seem a little better. Maybe that was just because she was dreaming when we saw K-23.
No, because then the second time they showed it twice.
Oh.
I thought
Oh,
the
did
same
they?
thing. I was like, oh, it's a dream sequence. Like, but also the dream sequence came after they already landed on K-23 and left.
Yeah, but
So
maybe
sh-
she's just like dreaming.
Okay, fair.
Like
No,
everything.
fuck
was
your dreams, Kevin.
No, I thought about that too. I was like, okay, it could have been a dream, like oversaturated, unrealistic. But it was after they'd been there, so they would want you to think it's more realistic. And then they talked about it again later when she's describing it to her dad, Augustine, who she also never finds out that it's her dad, which I kind of was upset about. But
I feel like that's
The ending
so
was.
you finish your
tragic.
point. I do have something to say about them not like him not closing the loop on that he's her dad.
Wait, let's talk about that later. We still
Yes.
got more to get.
yeah,
to
we still got more to get to
Right.
before
You're
that.
right,
But
you're right.
yeah, I don't know. I just thought that I don't want to give them credit for that. Oh, it was a dream sequence because then they show back later again and it was still shitty CGI.
Look, dude, I was just trying to help you out. Okay, I was just trying to give you some headcanon to make you feel a little better about the movie. But obviously, you don't fucking want it. So I'll
No,
just.
I don't.
Joey's like the world sucks, and I want everyone to know.
Yeah, their world.
Even
Their world
Earth, like
sucks,
the way they
dude.
CGI'd Earth to look like it was this post-apocalyptic
looked cool.
from space, like that was sick. It looked awesome.
Yeah.
I was like,
It
wow,
looks like
okay,
it.
you couldn't
Dude.
do it.
Yeah,
Every other scene of this movie except for on K-23.
Yeah, all of the spaceship scenes, like outside, inside, looked amazing. I thought that was so cool.
Mm-hmm.
I also loved the science room. Did you guys pick that up? Loved the science room where
Yeah.
they like walk into like the hollow screen room and they're like looking at circles and planets and they're like, and they're like, are the calculations correct? And they're like,
They're like,
I was like, I feel like there'd be more. They're like, are your calculations correct? And they turn around and they're like, yeah, no,
yes.
it's correct. And you're like, I don't see any work. I see lines and planets.
they loved whoever made this movie loved Star Trek and loved the idea of holodecks. Like literally, everybody has their own personal holodeck. Like, I want to relive this. Why'd they only get to bring one memory with them on their little holodeck?
I don't know if they only got to bring one. I just think that they weren't going to waste time showing more.
Yeah, I guess that's right. And they made it seem like they got one holodeck.
Yeah.
Fun question. If you could bring one holodeck, what would you bring?
This moment right here, us talking.
Aw.
That's sad.
Yeah, that is sad.
I'd rather just die.
I'm trying to think of how much I want to embarrass James right now.
Whoa! I'm trying to like level James. I'm trying to think of like a family memory. Or, like, and everybody's sitting
I'm
on the
trying to
table.
think of
You're
a-
like, when James like I don't know did some dumb shit when he was 12.
That's what I'm trying to think of.
Need to keep morale high.
Yeah,
James,
gotta
remember what happened in that trench during paintball when we were young?
keep. Yes, I do remember what happened in that during. Do you remember when you shot me in the head during paintball?
Oh, yeah, I would relive that over and over again.
I
Just
wouldn't.
James straight in the ear. with
It
a
was
paintball.
literally, you know in movies when you like fall over and it's like your eyes are like fuzzy and all you can hear is ringing? I literally ran in front of Kevin and he shot me from like 5 feet away in the ear.
It's like that scene in Saving Private Ryan when he's on the beach and it's all white and shit's like, it's
Yeah.
like just ringing. And he's,
It's so loud. It's like ridiculously loud. It's just like, "Bing," and you're like, ah! Also, ow! I'd probably relive that too.
over and over. That is an interesting question. That's like a sad question to think.
All right, well, let's move on.
Yeah.
We don't have to. Yeah. We did our sarcastic jokes. We can move on from that. Joe, you had another point that you wanted to get to that I cut off. Not to put you on the spot.
It was going towards the ending, but I don't want to spoil that just yet. Still,
While we're talking about the spacewalk and like that whole scene, why you tell me how this chick's like an astronaut, right? She got picked to go on this mission to space. Mm-hmm. Maya, I'm talking about Maya, one of the Ether crew.
how does she know what
picked-
the song "The Sweet Caroline" is? Right, that's your question.
Well, no. Well, let's say she's like 25 years old. At that point, Sweet Caroline came out before she was born. She probably
Doesn't
would know what
matter.
it is. That is still bullshit. But anyway, Maya, okay, got picked to be an astronaut. She interviewed. She had to be really smart. She probably went through a ton of training to be an astronaut, and she's throwing up because of the zero gravity. Like, come
No,
come
it's
the
not.
Fuck on.
I
Are
thought
you
about
kidding
that.
me?
It's not about the zero gravity though. It's straight up like
Is it nerves?
'Cause
Like it's her nerves, right?
it's
Like,
nerves.
she
Like
was-
you are literally
yeah.
going into the empty void of space, and you're expected to like hold on for your life and
Yeah,
like
to
be
get
connected
it
by
in.
things. Like it's not like she's on a planet where like she could just walk around. Like this was like empty void of space where there's no way. Like if you let go, and there's no way to like connect to something real quick. Like
Oh, you're
gone.
toast. Yeah, you're
Space
toast.
is scary
You're
as
gone.
fuck, dude. You start
Yeah.
going one direction, you
Did you
can't
know-
stop.
There's,
Did you
It's not
know-
swimming. You're not like
Yeah.
scrubbing through.
So did you know that if you go into space, like as a human, like 100% you're going to suffocate and freeze to death, but you'll also explode. You
Yeah.
know why?
Yes.
Because the Earth
Is
has
it
like a
vacuum?
constant the Earth has a constant pressure, so it's like constantly pushing in on us. So our body is constantly pushing out on it. So if you go and put it into a place where there's nothing to push out on, it just explodes. Like your eyes.
That's
will pop
awesome.
out. Yeah,
That's so cool.
yeah,
Um,
crazy.
You should try that out.
Yeah.
All right, nose
James.
goes.
Yeah. See you,
Ooh,
Joe.
sorry, Joe.
James,
No,
you know
but-
you're going to be the one to try it out.
What? Why am I the guinea pig?
You're the smart one.
So I have
have a
to
heart-
die in space.
I have a heart condition. I'm not allowed to go to space.
What?
Yeah.
I've never heard about that till this moment.
Joey's got this thing with his shoulder.
I got some
when-
torn muscle in my
Yeah.
shoulder, my heart. You know,
I've got this thing where I don't want to die in space.
Call
Dude,
me
space
crazy.
is scary as fuck. I attribute my fear of that shit in space to gravity. Like, just watching
Oh,
that
the movie Gravity or
Oh,
Gravity the
the
Speaking of
concept?
existence of
George
gravity.
Speaking of George Clooney, yes,
Yeah.
Gravity the movie. He gets jettisoned into space. I forget how it
What
happens.
if this
I
was the
forget.
sequel to that?
Yes.
And that's why he wasn't actually in space.
Yes.
He's like, fuck that, I'm not going back up there.
The extended George Clooney space universe.
Yo, that would have been a cool Easter egg if the Ether crew was flying through space and they saw
Like Sandra
George
Bullock is
Clooney's
just
body. No, George Clooney's body
Yeah, that'd be pretty
floating off.
funny.
That's a good movie. Anyway, space is scary as fuck. That spacewalk scene, yeah, you're right. Nerves are probably why she was puking.
Yeah.
Were you guys so focused every time they moved of them putting on their tether? You're like,
Yeah,
put
I
on the
was.
fucking tether.
Yeah.
I was so aware of that cantilever. It's insane to me. It's insane to me how much in real life human lives depend on cantilevers. Like I don't understand, like at all. Like there was a time.
Carabiners?
Carabiners.
Is it? What am I saying? Cantilever?
Ca-
I don't know what you're
I
saying,
don't know
but
what a
it's-
Cantilever's
it's a
something
carabiner.
else. Cantilever is like it's like a something you can use to pry something open. Whatever.
But yo, the one dude,
Dr.
the,
Martin
like,
Luther
captain,
King Jr.
Yes, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. He was reckless with his tethers. Like there was one point dude,
Oh,
I was
you
watching
mean-
him, and he
No,
like
yeah.
leaped and just kind of did like a cartwheel, and I'm like, bro, like that's not good.
He knows, dude. He knows. He's like, I got it. He's like, why are you coming out? And he's like, I just want to take a walk outside. And I'm like, that's
Yeah.
so cool.
Take a-
That was
he said
such
take
a
a-
cool.
He said, take a stroll around the neighborhood. He's like, what the fuck are you talking about? This is space, dude.
But honestly,
This
like,
is
if I
space,
was an
not your
astronaut, like,
fucking
I would
neighborhood.
do a spacewalk, even if there was no,
Oh, 100%. You got to do it. You got to do it.
Yeah,
You got to
like,
do
just
it. You're in
I
Like,
would
off
space.
the
do it.
list.
I would do it if it was George Clooney's case in Gravity, because he had the little jetpack, so he could, like...
Yeah, but you
That's
can
fair.
do... The whole
That'd be
thing
more
is
fun.
I feel like in
I would like
space...
a jetpack in general.
Yeah, but the thing, 100%. But I feel like in space specifically, right, because there's no forces, right? So if you're, like, flying in one direction, if you can throw something and, like, basically maintain the same force, you can stop yourself.
I understand how space works, bro.
Listen,
Do you
I'm
though?
just-
I mean, space is pretty big.
I understand how that works. In
The
space.
physics.
I don't
I'm
understand
yeah.
that.
But I'm saying is like I feel like you should like if you ever go for a spacewalk, you should just have like a belt of wrenches that you can throw in any direction. You know what I mean? Like
Oh, like batarangs.
James.
yeah.
You should work for NASA.
I-
And this is why you're going to be the one to go to space and explode.
James in
Yes,
space. It's
yes.
everybody comes out, everyone gets on their spacewalk, and they're like, James, why do you have 12 bags of sand that you're bringing with you? And I was like, oh, I know how space works.
I'm not an idiot. And they're like, fire
Again,
this guy.
whatever. Oh, man.
All right. So while we're talking about the spacewalk, here's another gripe I had with the movie. Why didn't she explode when a piece went through her suit?
She
and
should
into
have.
her?
You should
Yeah.
have.
should've.
There's no way she should have survived. Like that should have.
If-
The air should have been
And why-
suctioned out instantly,
Yeah.
and then she would have like.
She would have died.
Yeah.
Right.
She would die instantly.
But
If the
you know
suit
why
is
they
punctured,
did it?
she dies instantly.
You know why she didn't? Because this movie's all about visual, appealing shots, and that shot where her blood is just going through that whole
I got
white room.
queasy.
Oh, I loved it. I thought that was amazing.
Dude,
this
I
should be an
also
art
love
installation in the Met.
It was crazy because when I was younger, like I wouldn't watch movies that were like gory or bloody because like I literally would get queasy. Like I was one of those, and like my toes would like feel all weird.
So you're a
And-
weenie.
You're a
I
bitch
was
boy.
a weenie, but then like it didn't phase me. Like when I was in like middle school or like freshman year of high school, I was watching the Saw movies. Like I just kind of got over it. But then there, I just had this weird queasiness when they pulled the helmet off and the suction just pulled all the blood out of there, and
Yeah.
you're just like, oh god.
No, I thought it was so intense when you see like because I feel like they did the build of that scene really well. Where like I feel like it's like you see the little bits of blood and it's like you're like, oh, it's not that big of a deal. He grabs a med kit and he's like sprinting, and then like as she's like holding the wound, it's like coming more and more and more, and it's like like I feel like the ramp up and then the delivery of like that's too much blood, and then it goes. You know what I mean? And I thought that was a really cool character death, and it like made not that the movie didn't already have gravity, no pun intended, but like it made it like more like there were stakes. You know what I mean?
I stand by. This is just a tragic movie, even though like I think it was a good movie. It wasn't great. It was still really sad, like especially towards the end. Like that part was sad, and like even though it was a little unrealistic on that she didn't just explode in space. But just a very sad movie. Oh, and while we're talking about Maya dying, back to my notebook. Yo, you knew Maya was toast when she was screwing in that piece, and they're like, "We gotta go," and she goes, "This is the line." I wrote it down exactly. She says, "Let me finish this last connection," and I was like, "You're toast. Like, you're done.
Yeah,
They just built up that you have one more connection. All right,
Yeah.
here comes the rocks. And
No, it's
they're getting the rocks.
that meme where like the people are holding the casket. Let me get this one last connection.
Yeah, exactly. You knew right then and there that she was fucked. Like you're dead in the water.
See,
Yeah, that was
I knew
nice.
even one step before that when she didn't know Sweet Caroline.
Oh yeah.
I was like, okay,
Joey's
she's
like
clearly the
unapolog-
oddball out here. Like, this is supposed to be a great fun moment, a montage of everyone singing and getting along, and she's just like, nope.
I thought it. Now, hear me out on this one, okay? I'm not a director. Disclaimer, okay, everybody. I'm not a director. I'm not creative. I'm
You
not
are
a cinematographer. I'm not shit. But I was expecting that, and I think it would have been even more intense if they did it this way, that they were all starting to sing like Sweet Caroline, right? They started from the beginning, and then when they went bum bum bum, and then all of a sudden the fucking rocks start flying. That would have been
Yeah.
more intense. And then the music cuts
cut
real
the
quick.
song
You know what I'm
off,
saying?
yeah.
Like
that'd be
cut
really
it
cool.
off.
That'd be really
Yeah.
That would have been more intense rather than just kind of easing into these rocks coming in. If like out of nowhere, right? We're all hype about Sweet Caroline, and then all of a sudden, like we're like they're. Oh, I was expecting it. I was ready to like jump back in my seat, like oh.
Where everybody goes bomb bomb, and then the last bomb, it's just like
It's a
rock,
rock.
just like
Even with-
decapitates somebody.
yeah.
Even just with the editing of that scene, I thought it was going to be more like fast paced, going back between all of them, like shot to shot to shot to shot, like everyone's singing, like bump bump bump. But it like was very long on like one person, and then very long on the next person, and then very long on the next person. I was like, you're killing the vibe here.
I'm sorry.
Everybody's singing. Everybody's singing.
It's because
Sweet
you're
Caroline.
like,
Ba, ba, ba.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like you explained, like everybody's like ba ba ba. You know, Sweet Caroline, great song.
Yeah. Neil Diamond.
I don't know why that's
Exactly.
funny, but it's
Classic.
so funny.
Classic, but not to
Did I ever tell you guys my Neil Diamond story?
No, Kevin.
You know what?
Joey had a point. Joey was telling us something, and then I
Oh
completely
yeah,
cut him
tell
off.
us your point, Joey. I'm not going to talk about
No, I
Neil
said my
Diamond.
point. I said I thought that the editing there was just bad. That it should have just been faster paced, and that it would have
Yeah, I
led
agree.
nicely into your directorial choices of cutting it fast with the meteors.
Do
Yeah.
you agree?
I agree. Yes.
Yep. All right, Kevin, tell us about Neil Diamond.
No, I don't think the listeners want to hear my Neil Diamond story.
All right, if this video gets 100 likes, Kevin will post his Neil Diamond story.
Yeah, there you go.
Boom.
Kev,
Attainable
even though you're
goals.
only listeners, we want to hear the Neil Diamond story.
I will like the video. I want to hear the Neil Diamond story.
Neil Diamond story.
Alright.
Yeah. Do you
but-
want the Neil Diamond
Are you
story?
Neil
No, we have to get 100 likes first. I just gave them terms.
Yeah, that's.
Um,
Alright,
so-
who wants it?
Okay, so what I'm thinking is I feel like we can kind of move into like the end of the movie now, right? Are we in that zone?
I have one more question.
All right.
Yeah.
Before this, if you saw a little girl drawing a flower, or specifically the flower that she was drawing, would you have any idea what an iris looked like?
No.
Okay.
No, absolutely
like-
not. But wait,
He's like,
hold
oh,
on.
it's an
But
iris.
wait.
I know, again, this is a
Yes.
good transition into the next part of the story,
Mm-hmm.
but I was just, like, instantly, I was like, who the fuck knows what an iris
Joe,
looks like? And I was like, I
Especially
thought she
if
was
a
drawing...
fucking idiot kid was drawing it.
Exactly. In the future, where I'm like, oh, she's probably drawing like an alien that came and destroyed Earth. Like, I was expecting that.
Right.
And then I'm like, oh, it's a
Could
flower?
you imagine?
This girl has never literally seen a flower because it's all snow around her. Like,
It kind
how
of
does
looks
she
like
know
a
what an iris?
uterus.
Can you imagine if she like, if you're like, if George Clooney like leans over and he's like, "What are you drawing?" and then like she holds up the picture and it's like an anatomically perfect picture of an eyeball like pointing to the iris. Oh, an iris.
Oh,
I thought it was a uterus. I was expecting George Clooney to come walk over and be like, "Is that a uterus?"
I thought he was going to say, like, is that them? Like, the people that destroyed Earth or, like, an alien
Okay.
or something?
Yeah,
No,
that
it's a
would-
fucking iris. I'm like, that's
I think
Very
it's implied that
specific.
we destroyed Earth.
strong. There.
I don't think so, George.
So we're talking about. There were a lot of plot. I had a ton, dude. I had like 3 or 4 lines of like weird shit that didn't make sense that I was writing throughout the movie, and then right when we found out that this mute girl that he's been traveling with is just his own. I guess his own. It's his vision of his daughter when she was young. That literally solved all the questions that I had about why they chose what they chose and why things weren't happening that should be happening, because she literally is just a figment of his imagination.
But at the same time, there's no evidence, no flashback evidence, no, like, you got to realize that, like, what we see in the movie is all that actually exists in this world.
For
Augustine
us.
never, well, for us, who, like, that's,
Yeah,
you can't make up stuff that doesn't happen. Like,
it's true.
what is what is. He never sees his daughter. He doesn't know what she looks like.
No, he does. He sees her from afar in at the car.
Do you think he see? I don't think they made it clear that he saw her.
And he's probably gotten pictures, like he knows who his daughter is. Like obviously,
But again,
at the
you
end,
can't
we
assume
know.
that. Like, it's
Yes, we can, because he's talking to her. He knows that it's his daughter. Like
he knows
and-
that that's his daughter in space. I agree that it's clear that he
Right.
does know that it's her, but I
Yeah.
don't think he ever like. There's no actual evidence to show that he
Yeah,
met
but
his
we have to
daughter at that
assume-
young age.
Yeah,
But there was a great like line one of my teachers in high school like made that was like it was about like she was my literature teacher, and it was like what exists on the page is all that exists in this universe, and
yeah,
it's
but
like nothing else before or after actually happens unless they say it happened. And if the fact
I
that, like,
hate that though. I hate that line. Can I tell you why I hate that? Fuck your
Please.
teacher.
I hate your teacher.
Yeah.
She only has
Give
a
me his
doctorate in
name.
English literature.
But yes.
She, you
Yes.
sexist.
The
You're
only,
right.
the only truth we have is what they tell us, right? But we're smart people, and smart storytelling will allow you to make, like, to fill in those in-betweens. Like, we have to fill in those in-betweens in every piece, of media that we consume. We have to fill in
Agreed.
those pieces in
You just got to
between.
make creative assumptions
Mm-hmm.
based on
Right, and I think that's a pretty safe assumption. He was pretty damn close to her in that one flashback when she's walking by the car. And I'm sure, and they were on friendly terms at that point. Like, the two of them seemed friendly, so I'm sure she sent him pictures of their daughter. You know, I'm sure he's seen pictures. I think that's a tough one to get
he
hung
seemed
up on.
to not have any interest in her, and like no.
I don't think that's true.
I feel like
I
I don't
think.
think that's true. He didn't
No.
even know. He didn't even really know because she tells him.
No, I think at that point he did. In the car scene, I think he did. That's why he tried to get close, you know? Because, like, George Clooney, the entire movie, they're building his character as, like... And this is why I think we didn't see a ton of his acting chops. He's, like, a super, like... introspective, like, cold, like, stoic character, right? Even when he was a kid, you know what I mean? He was, like, he's been stoic his entire life. He's really hard time connecting with people on an emotional level. Which sucks because as a character, because you're like, oh, I can't wait to see George Clooney be a good actor, and he's acting like a stoic guy. You know what I mean? So it's like you don't see a large you don't see this emotional journey. You just see this guy who's like trying his best, you know? And like the only real time you see him like break that like stoic shell is at the very end. You know,
I think that's okay, though. I think that's okay for his character. I think it made sense. At least for me, I think it made perfect sense. But I think, just going back, because I want to go back to the whole idea of, like, him and his daughter's relationship. Like, she told him that the pregnancy test was wrong at first.
Yeah.
Because she knew that he wasn't ready to be a father, and he didn't want to be a father. And then I think that they kind of show a little bit of that growth. Like, he's there. He's kind of showing a little interest into his daughter, and then by the end, it's like his daughter was his driving motivation, you know, to do that, to make that trek, and like he's kind of haunted by his past, right? His daughter being little, like he's haunted by that, and that's also driving him, you know. I was okay with that. I thought the ending was sad.
I think we needed just one more additional scene from the flashback.
I would agree.
Show that he was looking at a picture of her or something, just to physically show that like he did have some sort of connection.
They could have done it with like a locket, where it's like he looks at like a.
I guess
like
you could, just like a picture without actually showing the picture, something that wasn't like. You gotta keep in mind this flashback also probably takes place in like during our lifetime, like 2000, sometime between like 2000 and 2010, I would say.
Yeah.
I feel like there also wasn't flashback heavy in this movie. Like it was maybe like 15 minutes of flashback.
But in the beginning it was, and that was my point, was that it felt like it was 3 separate timelines. Then the flashback timeline just disappears without like a trace really, and then it becomes more focused on the Ether crew. It just like was. I just wish it was more consistently throughout the 3 timelines.
I agree, Joe. I think they could have. I think it wouldn't have been an issue if the movie was like 15 minutes longer and we got maybe like 2 or 3 more like flashbacks where George Clooney's like a little older. Maybe he's already getting to this new station. Maybe it's like pretty close to the events of the movie. Or maybe it's his decision to go to this station. You know, they could build a little more on his character, like choosing to go to the middle of fucking nowhere on this observations like deck. I think it could have afforded that, and I think that would have made it a lot better, or a bit better payoff at the end when you find out that he is seeing his daughter. That is his daughter. It's not that woman's daughter who we all assumed that it was in the beginning of the movie. So yeah, I think it could have used an extra one.
Yeah.
They did a good job duping us though, throwing that scene with the woman in the beginning, like, "Where's my daughter?" That was good.
Yeah,
that was smart.
good. That was a good little like turn of like sleight of hand where it's like, oh, you're like, oh, she forgot her daughter, like the person.
It was good, but I almost wish that other woman wasn't so like confident in the sense of like, no, we saw her get on the ship, she's okay. She said like
I didn't believe her. I thought
Yeah,
she
but
was
you don't
just
believe her.
fucking
You just
stupid.
exactly what
yeah,
Colin
you
said.
just
Again,
suspend
assume-
my
disbelief.
first-
until
you go.
you get to my plot holes that I had to fucking throw out because they turned out to not be plot holes. Because I was like, how'd she survive for 3 weeks without him seeing her? That was the first thing I said. Then I said, how'd she not get frostbite? She's not wearing a mask.
I was wondering that too.
What else did I say? There was something else that I noticed about her. I didn't write it down, I guess. And I was like, how did that fucking happen with her? Like, how'd she...
Flick the
Also,
peas.
why she's not talking.
I have a random question. This does not have to do with... This kind of has to do with the end of the movie. What is the thing... He grabs a cube that looks like a really crazy hard drive, and I'm just assuming that that's like the math equation for them to get back to...
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't understand why he has to have a math cube to like plug it. You know what I mean? That he's
Well, it
like...
had like
already
coordinates and shit. It was like a
but
whole
they already
thing.
went. That's the other thing. That like they should know how to get there. They're coming.
No,
they're starting
no.
from their same spot.
No, it was the calculation of like how they have to hit Earth's gravity to like go back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
so
he
it's
also
how they-
grabbed that so early. It was like kind of like he
knew.
knew.
I forgot about it.
Well, honestly,
Well,
like,
that's
the
why he
only
was
thing he's been
going.
doing.
That's why he was
That's
going
true. He
there.
was going for
yeah,
that
yeah,
reason.
that was the
Okay.
point.
Makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah. That was
Math
the
Okay,
point.
cube
so then let me
makes
ask you
sense.
something else. So, how do you really realistically think, taking our creative assumptions that we are attuned to now as a society, that a team of 2 can take that whole ship back to K-23?
Yeah,
By
100%.
themselves.
We
100%.
Joe, we have literally the same brain because I thought that the same thing during the
100.
credits. I was like, they hired 6 people for a reason on those
Yeah.
ships.
3 of them are gone now.
No, a lot of the time on like especially bigger vessel things. Again, I know this because like I've worked.
Okay.
Like, I know that like container ships, right? Like those huge
Mm-hmm.
boats that have like tons of containers. They have crews of like 15, 20 people. You know, because like
To
they
cross the
basically
ocean,
to
let
cross the
alone-
ocean.
But the ocean we have mapped and no. Sorry,
You say that, but
Yep.
it's like it's a lot of
Okay.
nothing for a really
Yes.
long time.
but
Right.
space, we don't like. One thing goes wrong, they send 3 people out to do that spacewalk. If they have to do another spacewalk, and 2 of them have to to go out, who's going to
Yeah.
man the ship? Like, there's
Well,
one little
also-
thing goes wrong, and they're, I feel like, done.
Also,
And-
James, you said that they only have like 15 people on that crew. What if you took 9 of them away? Could they
Well,
still run that boat?
Well, they're not automated systems, right? Like the whole thing, like the
Right, but my
flying
point
of
is,
the,
if it's made for
yeah,
6,
but the flying of the spacecraft is literally like plugging in coordinates and stuff, and like your axis, and then the computer takes care of everything.
I
so
feel like you're oversimplifying, though. Space
oh, you need to be
exploration.
an astronaut and a rocket scientist to go on these missions.
Literally.
What I'm saying is, like, I'm not saying I can get on a rocket ship and do it. I'm just saying, like, the rocket scientist can get on the ship and do it.
But that's what I'm saying. So-
not in Armageddon.
Coach Taylor was their or not the captain, but he was the pilot. He's gone.
Yes. I like that we're
what's
just
the other
not
guy's
even
name?
trying
Taylor?
to use their names.
Oh,
I-
see, I didn't know. I didn't think of Coach Taylor. I thought of FBI agent from Wolf of Wall Street.
Yes, I did think that as well.
No, I just
can't
know him as.
remember his
I
name
mean, I didn't
anyway.
even watch Friday Night Lights, but I just know him
No,
as
it was
Coach
Coach
Taylor.
Taylor.
Nah,
He's also from or Zero Dark 30, that movie.
was he in that too? A lot of people.
Yeah,
were
he's
in that
the
movie.
like CIA agent who has to make the call and
Got
doesn't
it.
make the call until Jessica Chastain or Amy Adams. I forget which one. They get them mixed up. Finally says like 500 days, we gotta go. But anyway, I don't think it's realistic to expect a spaceship of that size to get back to that planet
I think you can do
with
it.
2
They
people.
might be able to out of necessity. Like, just they'll figure it out because they
Yeah.
have to.
And a newborn baby?
I also don't know
Because
how
she's
they're
going to
going
have
to
to
make
give
it.
birth sometime before
Yeah,
they get
that's
there.
gonna suck.
Yeah, additionally, you can't make like like I guess you could make a colony, but like you just have to take whatever. Like you have to basically land the satellite on the planet, which it's not supposed like
No,
satellite.
They've
No, because they
already
have the
actually-
landing craft. What I'm saying is,
Yeah.
it's like all of their equipment to survive is on
on
the
the
satellite.
spaceship.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know what I
You can't
mean?
go back
I think
and forth.
we can. I was gonna say, I think we can assume they have a way of.
No,
like,
no.
airdropping
No.
shit,
They
right?
did send a supply ship.
Bingo,
They said the
you're right.
supply ship left
Yeah, but you
last
need-
week.
Yeah, they did say that.
Okay, maybe. All right.
And I think there was another crew of humans going. Like that was the ship that
Yeah.
evacuated.
You just
Like,
have to
people
recognize
did go.
Yeah, you're right.
But-
I'm wrong.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think like
Also, there's no shot of them colonizing.
no.
Well,
Like,
no,
they're
they got-
just gonna go live their life on that planet. And
They have one daughter, and they have two people. Like they have one daughter. I mean, the daughter will
Yeah,
live their
James.
life there.
Wait, James, do your math again, bro. How is this gonna happen?
Well, they have 3 people. They can live the rest of their lives there.
Right, but they can't.
How are they going to colonize? How are they going to reproduce?
They're gonna make
the-
their own. They'll make their own home.
Okay.
No, you idiot. Colonize.
talking about-
Oh,
not
you mean
just
like
make
make
a
more
home.
people? I mean,
Yeah,
like if you're
that's
trying to
what
get into some Adam
colonizing
and Eve
is.
shit, like you know what I mean? Like that's not. I don't want to watch that part of the movie.
No, you misunderstood us, dude. Don't make us look like idiots. You misunderstood us. We said colonizing.
No,
you
no, no, no,
misunderstood.
no. You see, I'm right, and I'm making you sound like you're wrong, and that's
Yeah.
what I'm doing right.
Nice try.
Let's give
I
final
think-
thoughts before we.
Yeah,
Alright.
I think it was I think it was a really sad movie, and I think they did the ending really well. I think that twist caught me off guard. I'm usually good at like catching that kind of stuff. I didn't pick up on her being the daughter. And did you write it down?
Where is it? Is Sully Augustine's daughter or something like that? I wrote, and then
No.
I wrote underneath that is Iris Sully's daughter because I thought it was
Yeah.
going to be like a weird timeline
Yeah.
thing, and then I was like, okay, no, Iris is not Sully's daughter, so I wrote no, and then something provoked me to say no to is Sully Augustine's daughter. And I don't know what it is now, but something made me write like confidently that no, it's not his daughter. So there's a plot hole somewhere in there. I need to rewatch this now to investigate and figure out.
Or you were wrong. It was
Yeah,
it's
well,
either
you're
a plot
wrong.
or
I
you're
think it
wrong.
was a really. I think they did the ending like pretty well, and it was pretty sad. But all in all, it is kind of a knockoff of Interstellar. Like they got to go. Like the Earth is dying. They got to go find life elsewhere.
Keep in mind, I believe this is also adapted from a book.
Oh, okay.
So-
Interstellar.
Yeah, adapted from the movie. But yeah, I mean, the ending was really sad. I got a little misty when they were going through the ending. But other than that, like,
Okay. Yeah, my final take on the movie is like it's a slow watch. Like it's definitely not a super action-packed movie. It's something that's like it's definitely like you have to be mentally engaged to really like get anything out of this movie. You know, like if you're not sitting there watching it in a vacuum, you know what I mean? Like you're really paying it, you're not talking through it, you're really not going to like not that it's a super complicated movie. It's just like there's little conversational things that they don't repeat and you're going to miss it, you know? So it's like it's slow. I think it's good because I think the twist at the end is very good. Where Sully is Augustine's daughter. I do like the little tear up at the end. I thought that was a very nice kind of like cherry on top of the movie. I thought the decision for like the guys to go back to Earth was a very humanizing. Like they're not just like, oh, we need to survive. They're like, oh, well, we need to, you know what I mean? Like, listen, this is our choice, and everybody's like, okay, totally understand it. These are the stakes. So I think there was like a lot of good. There's a lot of good in this movie. There's a lot that I liked. Do I think it's a great movie? No.
Okay, I was gonna say so. I felt like this was supposed to be that great Oscar-worthy movie, and when I finished, I was like confused to why I wasn't like I was satisfied with the ending in the sense that I was happy with the twist, and though I did predict it, I was still shocked. But there's a review on IMDb that sums it up perfectly for me. I'm going to quote this from Cooler16687. He or she wrote, I mean, it looks great, filmed great, the actors are good, but the story, dear God, what was the point? It literally goes absolutely nowhere. And though, after talking to you guys, I do think the story had a little bit more point, I still feel like it's kind of pointless. Like the concept of the story was they need to find a planet that can host life. They clearly establish that it can because they tell us that it can, and then they go back to Earth. Earth sucks. They literally just have to go back to where they started, and it just kind of feels like, what was the point almost? So I'm a little conflicted, but I do have my rating, and I will give it to you guys after you want to.
if you're going for like a sci-fi, like space exploration movie, like this isn't it. You're right, and that review is right. But I stick by the idea that like because I went in, I had no fucking idea what this movie is. I actually texted James today. I was like, "What's the movie we're watching?" Like, I had no fucking idea what this movie was until I watched it. So that's where I think it's a little different, right? If you go into it thinking it's going to be this space odyssey, like cool exploration movie, it's going to fall flat. But if you watch it at face value, like not knowing what it is, like I just assumed it was a story about this guy. So, yeah, I guess it's just different on how you approach the movie, and that's going to change kind of how you feel about the movie.
Okay, so what's your verdict? Click play or keep scrolling?
I'm clicking play. I said in the beginning I'd watch it again. I'll probably show this to Julia, my girlfriend, and recommend it to like friends and family. I'm hitting play. Not astounding reviews, but I'd watch it.
Okay, James, final thoughts and
Well, I gave my final thoughts.
Yeah.
I was because I
final thoughts and
reiterate
your review.
Yeah, reiterate my review. I am definitely clicking play. I thought it had a lot of good. It had enough good that like I definitely think like the meat of the story is the slow part. It doesn't get you to the very like it doesn't. The meat of the story isn't why you should watch this movie. You should watch this movie for the characters, for the twist, for the cinematography, for like I don't know, for the like I do like the suspense. I think they have good suspense. There's a lot of reasons to watch this movie. It's not the story. Click play. Joey?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think that this movie has just enough to keep me interested to actually watch it and suggest watching it, especially with that ending. But the story does fall flat, so I would go in with low expectations, kind of just look for a movie where you're going to be visually entertained and delve into, I was going to say delve, and I just said dive, and I sound like an Irishman. Dive into, dive, man. No, you're going to dive into a story about some personal characters, and it's going to do just enough to keep you interested and engaged. But it's going to be a little bit of a slow burn. But yes, I would click play on this movie.
Nice.
Cool.
3 plays.
Awesome.
Three
yeah,
plays. Yeah, three
right.
all hesitant plays, it sounded
3.
like, but enough.
Yeah. Like they're all
To-
asterisk plays.
Yeah, enough to give it a watch when.
Yeah.
You
All
know,
right, Joe,
you
you're
have
not
some
getting off
time.
that easy. You know what time it is.
Yes, yeah, that's so true. Joe knows.
Like
He
James,
knows.
James
knows.
forgot
Like
last
James
week.
did.
I don't know what you're
Yeah.
talking about. That didn't
No,
happen.
no. In relation to space, okay, and with this movie, my dating advice is don't get pregnant while in space
That's
Wow.
true.
on a 2-year mission to away from Earth during an apocalypse.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No.
this is the
It's not going to
best.
be easy to
This
raise
is
a
the-
child.
Yeah, this is literally the best outcome for you trying to date someone at work. Like, especially when you have to
No.
live and breathe them. They're like an actual.
This is the
like, they're-
worst outcome.
No,
What
no,
if
but
they
they're
fucking
like-
they're
decide they hate
cohesive.
each other and they're the last 2 humans?
No, but they
Ever.
don't hate each other. They at least in the like what we see, they're like
They're
you know,
what,
they're
like
very
32? They got
They're not
time.
30. They got time to hate each other.
they
They'll learn
got time.
hate. You know.
Yeah.
Kevin's
No, I agree.
like
This is the worst case scenario because this is the prime example of not to date your coworkers. You know, it's
Yeah.
just not going to end well
Yeah,
because
Don't-
you're right.
you're
That's
gonna
great
get-
advice,
You're going to get
Joe.
pregnant and you're going to be stuck on a spaceship for potentially eternity
it's true.
until
That's great
somebody
advice.
dies.
Great
Thank you.
advice.
Take heed.